That's right. Nothing but.
Welcome to the PB&J stream. He's Paul. I'm John. We're the two plain dudes with fitness shirts, or the two fitness dudes with plain shirts, something like that. Welcome, y'all. Thank y'all for being here. We're covering elbow pain today. How you doing, Sir Paul?
Doing well, John. How are you?
Doing fantastic, I think. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. A little tired. I was sharing with
You
you.
had a
My dog. My dog killed a bunny this weekend, so I'm gonna ostracize all of our guests now. And
It's so much worse when you say bunny.
right.
Like it it's orders of magnitude worse when you say bunny.
I told my wife that the dog killed Peter. You
Yeah,
might like
it
that.
had to be Peter
You might
because
like that then, right? Is it Peter that is your wife's boyfriend abroad?
Roger.
Oh, Roger. No,
Roger is my wife's
I
boyfriend
guess there's a
abroad.
Roger
Yeah.
Rabbit, right?
There is a Roger Rabbit. No, but
I chose Peter Rabbit.
it would have to be one of those because there's no way your dogs would have gotten one over on bugs.
No, it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's somebody's like house bunny or rabbit that like escaped or something and was roughing it in the woods, so to speak.
Really? Was it?
I don't know. I mean, it's how many rabbits are out in the world? I feel in cities.
Along the bayou there in Houston,
That is true.
there are a number of them. So that is something to keep in mind.
And then I'm still working on that shed foundation. So this weekend I finally got the frames of the foundation made out,
Mm-hmm.
put in the ground, and put about 12, I think, bags of rock and about 8 bags of sand down, and hand tamped it.
When you say hand tamped it, you mean you just went around smack? Okay, no, yeah, I get it. So you got the tool for it. Did you get the big tamp or did you just make one?
Oh no, I bought one, the little like 8 by
Okay.
8 square thing, and I just for
Mhm.
3 hours just walked around like a little wind up soldier, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta go probably get about another 4 bags of dirt,
Uh,
honestly, to really get it leveled out and finished, and then the paver stones, and then finally I can build this damn thing.
Now this is just going to be a thing for you to put
Okay,
equipment
I'm
in
way
and
over
shit, right?
engineering this shit. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, just making sure.
But it will be level, and hopefully, if it ever floods, the water will go towards the door.
Well, I hope the best for it. Now this is really just to keep equipment and stuff in, right?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm really interested to see that next time I'm down there. So
Well, enough about me. Let's talk about what
well,
the people care about.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So
We gotta
last
get at
week we
least
did
some
this.
viewers by doing this, right?
That's right. Little. I think that we could.
Maybe we don't want those viewers.
Well, maybe like if we wore different and more exciting outfits or something.
Then we have to change the about us, and that's just too much work.
Yeah. So last week we. Yeah, I don't know how well that would be. Like, I would, get in some exciting dance wear and start dancing around, going like, "Is this exciting you? Is this exciting?" And I don't think that would be exciting to many people.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, last week we talked about uh, one of the common plagues among even semi-active people, right? Elbow pain, and that can be encountered in any walk of life, and no matter what you're doing. If you have a habit that you perform or something that you do regularly, and you are of average mobility, and so your elbows, the hinging of your elbows, plays a significant role in the execution of any given task, then chances are you've encountered it one way or another. Hopefully, when you encounter it, it is because of an acute circumstance, like you fell and put your arm out and, you know, or steadied yourself. And there was some, all of a sudden, not often repeated circumstance that had you, what's that?
Oh, that was me.
Oh yeah. Some seldom performed and non-repeating circumstance that had you feel that kind of injury. But unfortunately for most of us, it's a chronic thing, right? And we talked about tendinopathy and tennis elbow and golfer's elbow last week, but elbow pain.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Like I've it's a pain in the
elbow.
No, but it's a pain in the ass. Like, I mean, for me, with my elbow pain, it was bad in the sense of only if I reached really far.
Right, so don't do that.
Exactly.
Right.
So if like shit fell behind the fridge or behind the couch, right? Like I'd be trying to reach for it and be all a little short armed, and I could just barely feel it, and I'd just try to fingertip it, and then be like, God damn it. And then you'd have to like, because there's the wall, right? So that typically it's advantageous for one limb to work there, and trying to use the other limb. So I think I was like having to climb up on the couch all awkwardly to use my right arm. I think Chica came in one time and was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "This is not my fault. It's just my arm isn't straight."
So that actually highlights something that we really should talk about. So often, so just like with most joint pain, but especially with elbow pain, we blame it on that specific thing, right? You got out of the camera.
Oh no.
Like you're being born right then.
All right, man.
Anyway,
this camera to work again. Too good for its own good.
Too what?
Too good for its own good.
Pretty much, right? Anyway, jump out and jump back on. Just X your camera. Don't leave the meeting.
There we go. For now.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So what you just talked about is something that happens for a lot of us, which none of us think about, right? There is the elbow pain, and then there is what we do to avoid experiencing it after that, which oddly tends to further our experience or the longevity of the elbow pain. So you fall, you catch yourself, and you're like, oh man, my elbow really hurts. Then to reach out in a length, you know, to have your arm in a lengthened position, that hurts. So you do things like you go and you get a stool and you put the stool underneath you to go and reach for something solid, or like you keep your arm close to you so that you can reach back with your other arm and go to grab whatever it is. And you know, you've said, I've heard you say something akin to everything you do, whether or not it's performative, is a rep.
I mean,
right. So,
like,
I mean,
it's so dumb. Yeah. I know it's so dumb, but like that game, fucking Elder Scrolls. Like that, I remember that when I was playing that shit, man. It was just I was running, just started the game, and you just start running around, and all of a sudden you get a little award for like level 1 athleticism. I was like, what the fuck did I do for athleticism?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You keep running around, and then all of a sudden level 2. Holy shit! You get skill points just for running around. It's fucking life.
Yeah, like oh, congratulations, you're now level 2 at handshaking.
Right,
you know, you're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
But there is some truth into that, right? Like now, some things you don't necessarily like, even if you maxed out and got max level skill, handshaking skills, right? Like, you know, maybe that's like akin to pickpocketing or something. I don't know, but you know, but everything we do, you can develop that skill, and movement is no different in that. You know, I think of it a lot of times like like car. I always go back to car analogies for this. I think because our body's mechanical. And if you notice like your tire is uneven in its wear patterns or pulling even, right? And you're always blaming the tire for its uneven wear patterns, to your point, Paul, right? It's not the tire's fault necessarily. It's very likely that there's something wrong with the alignment of the steering mechanism or some way that we're driving the vehicle. Maybe we're always, you know, like a NASCAR driver just taking a bunch of left turns all the time. So we're just driving the car in a manner that just eats up the tire more, so to speak, and not as even. So
Yeah.
figuring out that root cause, I think, right?
Yeah. So the way that I like to point out, or the thing I like to point out, is that when you're dealing with nagging pain, especially in joints, and especially in joints like the elbow, it is almost always a compensation problem. There is a real lack of understanding about how, for all of its functionality, the elbow is a simple hinge joint.
Yeah.
It's this thing that takes all the brunt of the effect when the stuff upstream or the stuff downstream isn't doing its job. And the way that I point that out, or I have pointed that out in the past, is that if you imagine like a mechanical mechanism, like a some kind of hinge, right? And we've seen it like where there's a metallic like C clamp, and there's another arm that goes in the middle of it, or a joint that goes in the middle of it and has a pin going through the middle. And as long as it's functioning this way, right, then it works fine. But the second that you put stresses on it, where there is some kind of force that either presses one of the ends of the clamp down onto the moving arm, you experience reluctance or a hesitation with the mobility of that mechanism. For a more relatable, what are we looking at here? Yeah, for a more relatable example, let's look at a door hinge. It opens, it closes. If you try and take the door hinge, if you grab the separate flaps and you pull them in opposite directions and then try to open it or close it, just try to move it one way or the other, it becomes more difficult. So like when you have, if you were ever like one of those kids who have ever seen somebody hang on the end of a door, like on the end where the doorknob is, the door becomes more difficult to open and close. And it's the same thing. It's like putting an odd stress on this hinge. It's made to do this. It's not made to have these shearing forces put on it like that.
Right. And we all know like the international symbol for like elbow pain.
What's that?
Right. Just people grasping at it, right? Just the
right. Yeah.
pawing at it. You know, another common thing I feel we see, and maybe this is a generational thing, but is the braces that have the gel pad, or
it's supposed to like mimic bursa.
I'm guessing,
yeah.
But it basically is just a pressure point that gets pushed on your forearm.
Oh yeah.
That's how I've seen them. But there's various apparatuses, elbow braces, and sleeves that people will use as well to create stability there, or to help alleviate that pain, right? And so if you're using those kind of patchworks, you're stuck with them, right? I mean, it takes me back to that my football coach in high school when kids thought it'd be cool to have their ankles taped. And like it was weird because I've never seen kids just do a 180 on something like this, especially like I came from private school, right? Read into that what you will. And so like, you know, this coach, she goes, I have to do it today. I have to do it every day, every practice. Like something about having to have it done every day from then on was like, nope, I just wanted it for today. I thought it'd be cool, coach.
I do see the wisdom in that, but there is also something to be said for protecting things. But you know, going back to going back to your example though of the car, you know, you talked about the tire doing extra work. It's not the tire's fault that it's doing extra work, right? It's not the tire's fault that it's wearing down unevenly. If your shoulder is malpositioned, your elbow is malpositioned, right? If your shoulder isn't doing its work, your elbow can only transfer that load, for instance, downstream.
Well, when I'm talking with clients, I commonly will reduce things down into the sense of there's only two stable joints in the body, maybe four if you want to be really technical, right? Our elbows and our knees. Those are the only two truly stable joints. The rest are mobile in that
Uh-huh.
sense of they elbows and knees are really just hinges, as you've highlighted. It's the joints above them that really command the forces that are dictated to that knee or elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, for
Yeah.
people who've tried everything, let's get into some of these, maybe what might be non-traditional or maybe more restorative movement and activities for people.
So, okay. So the thing to keep in mind, it's twofold. Unless you do a high degree of personal assessment, it'll be difficult for you to really assess or for you to really observe where your problem's coming from. Whether it's that you have a propensity for an incomplete hand grip on something, so when you grab something, you're gripping mainly with your thumb, index, and middle finger to like lift something up and leaving the rest of it out, which is going to inform how your elbow positions itself, or whether or not your shoulder, your scapula, your shoulder blade is pulled up or your shoulders presented forward, so your elbow is winging out or winging in. So unless you have somebody who is super aware or professionally aware, who can help you assess, or you yourself can observe those things in whatever medium or fashion. If it's filming yourself or in front of a mirror, it will be difficult for you to arrive at which one of these exercises is the pinpoint for you. So what we've done is created a list of exercises that will allow you from where, for most kinds of elbow pain, will target a broad stroke of what might be the problem.
Would it be
You
fair to
will.
say like that, like kind of 3 guiding principles for people?
What's that?
One, don't go into the pain cave. It's okay to find the pain cave,
Mm-hmm.
but like don't go into it and don't like be there. The other side is make sure you're breathing.
Yep.
If you're not breathing, you're likely not doing it right. And even if you are doing right, if you're breathing, you're probably not getting the most out. You're not getting the most out of it. There's no probably about it. And then 3, be curious and exploratory, not like conquering and like determined. And
That's wait. That really needs a significant degree of consistent reaffirmation whenever you're performing any of these. So please, John, say it again.
so again, this, I think what I said was being curious and exploratory, right? And not trying to have this sense of like conquest or like determinism of like getting somewhere. It's
Right.
in the last caveat to this maybe even is, as you go through life, you may find that what really was working for you 3 months ago, the board has changed. Like your habits may have changed by then, and even though you may have the same job and do the same hobbies, if you're working on your mobility, something hopefully has changed. And by
Right.
virtue, therefore, your exercise selection, if you're still needing correctives for these things, may change as well.
So that really is worthy of boldface type, right? Is to say your needs, especially if you are responding to your challenges correctly, your needs may change. You may keep doing correctives long after the problem was resolved, right? That doesn't happen terribly often.
Right.
Simply because the habits that exist out in the world as we encounter them with either a hobby that we engage in often, or work that we have to do for many hours out of our day. But what we're about with these exercises is restoring proper motor control, improving stability, and educating or re-educating your body how to work with itself. We're addressing a cause, right? Not trying to reach a goal. And remember, these movements that we're talking about are movements that are supposed to inform or guide how you do everything that's going to involve your shoulders, elbows, and wrists.
You just reminded me of a client. And when I
Let's
was
hear it.
early in my career, I was talking about core engagement and drawing in his core and lengthening into his abs and staying tall.
Mhm.
And he looks at me and goes, I'm supposed to do this all the time? And I kind of looked at him and I was like, I just didn't know how to answer. I was like, well, I mean, that's why we train and exercise, but yes.
Right. We call that offending behavior, right? Like the need to do something is created. The need for restorative or corrective exercise is created by what we refer to as offending behavior. So if you're slouched over a screen, over a desk and looking at a screen all day, or leaning on a counter for many hours a day or whatever, those are offending behaviors.
His profession was looking over microscopes.
Oh, okay. So that's an offending behavior, right? I had one client who, I think I've talked about him before, worked in the pit in a garage. So always doing this, right? Always. Now, there's nothing inherently bad about that, but when you do it enough to the exclusion of alternative forms of behavior, so if I'm always pressing a button, but I'm never reaching behind me to grab for anything, this, which is normally unimpactful, is now an offending behavior simply because it's a lopsided one. All right. Now, this isn't the easiest stuff in the world. It's simple, but it's not the easiest stuff in the world to digest. So don't let it intimidate you. This is just a lot of legitimizing circumstance so that you can maybe identify with what we're talking about, but all of it doesn't need to make sense. It just a few key points do. If you're having trouble identifying with any of these things that we're about to talk about, or if you need a little more information on how to self-assess, or information on how to talk to whatever professional you're going to work with, so that they can know what you're looking out for, give us, find us on our platforms, like, subscribe, send us an email, whatever it is. You can find us online at rangefitnessonline.com. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. You can reach out to us through any one of those things, and we will be glad to help you. So let's cover these exercises.
So what the first one up, I think, is a wall angel.
Mm-hmm.
This is one I really like.
You have people do these a lot.
I use this as this is one of my sales pitchy exercises, if you will.
Yeah.
In that it really does reveal a lot. It's one of those sneaky kind of exercises. Not to toot my own horn too much, but I go up to the wall and I'll demonstrate all right, you just need to lay on the wall. I'll use a dowel because we're doing it standing when I'm doing it with clients, and I put that at their low back. And so using their stomach muscles to draw in, they have to hold that dowel against the wall and then put their arms on and get to that cactus arms. And if I'm feeling like showing off, I'll, slide my arms up overhead as well. What you can't see probably from the camera angle is, again, my arm staying back as I'm doing this. My elbows aren't popping off, or my wrists aren't popping off, rather, to create that motion. And that's really the caveat. And so when people do this for the first time, they look like they're trying to, like the old uncle trying to scare somebody.
You got that one. A passive assessment, and we'll cover these on each one. A passive assessment for this one is to lay down on the ground when your arms in what I call cactus arms. And so once you're there, very often what you'll find, if your shoulder instability is what is producing, or as we say, informing your elbow pain, you'll quite often find that your wrists sit above the floor to whatever degree, and your knuckles kind of hang down like this. So there'll be this kind of open space, right? Like this between where the floor is and where your wrist is. That's a great way for you to assess whether or not this one could be beneficial. Mm-hmm. So wall angels with purpose. Now, before we get into this, a lot of times what we need to remember is we start to bias completion over process. And what we need to do is bias process over completion. So in other words, when you're working out or you're trying to get to the next level, in a game. It's about getting to getting to the boss, or reaching 10 or whatever. It's not about active or conscious engagement of muscles or feeling bones move or anything like that. But if we're going to get at,
it's not a speed run endeavor,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
This is
That's right.
This is the secret achievement that only 3% of the world have ever accomplished, kind of a thing, or getting a complete run.
Yeah.
Or getting I've been playing Hitman lately, so trying to get silent kills, or I forget what it is, but having those, you put these specific constraints on yourself for exercise purposes. Sure, you could say to make it harder, but realistically, it's to help create longevity and vitality for yourself. So,
right, we're not
getting back to the wall angels, though. What are some other details that we should be kind of apparent or looking for?
One, avoid the idea of progressive overload. Right, any form of it. Two, you pay attention to movement, not goal. Right, the actual process of it is the goal. A simple example of this would be to take your arm out in front of you, like so. Right, elbow in line with the space in front of you in accordance with your shoulder. Palm faces up. Now, if you look at your wrist, elbow, and shoulder, they are all on a line according to the space in front of you. And then you take your arm up as high as you can. Just take your hand up as high as you can. Now, there will be a point at which, in order to accomplish that, one of two things will have to happen. Either your arm will have to go out to the side like this, or your elbow will start to wing out. Now, that is biasing toward the completion of the movement. Take your arm up as high as you can. But if we say something like, take your arm up as high as you can while keeping the original alignment intact, it won't go up as high. And when you reach that tolerance, you stop the movement, right? The goal was the process of how high can you lift it with these constraints, as long as all of these little things are kept in mind.
That's difficult. Interject one thing as far as how to do this or watch for yourself is to that point of the elbow rotation, right? We're not trying to be getting free drinks at the bar, right? So don't be squeezing your elbows in and cross your chest. When we do this, you're going to activate a lot of your pecs. Keep the chest broad, ball gown shoulders, right? Be as broad across the clavicle as you can. Then you're getting that sense of, I envision plexiglass coming out from underneath my armpits. It's like that sense of trying to slide the elbows across that plexiglass. But
like you're hugging.
People do an upper pec exercise, and we squeeze. Or again, we're fighting so hard to keep the elbows in tight that we find other ways to compensate other than what you had highlighted earlier. Right.
Okay. So wall angels. First, depending on the assessment that you have, right? Now, what we're going to cover first is if you don't have a tendency for concavity in the front of the body, meaning not a C shape or shoulders collapsing inward. If you have that degree, we'll cover. If you have that present, we'll cover what to do next. If you find that that when you go to press up against the wall and your wrists are hanging away from the wall, if you're laying on the floor and the wrists won't rest on the floor, then you're going to stand with the heels about 6 inches away from the wall. Set your hips on the wall and take your arms up, just so you described it earlier, a gentle press with your low back, right? So that nobody could slide a hand between your back and the wall. Arms in this shape, and then all you're going to do, or you could actually start with your arms in this shape. It depends on how you would cue it. John, we lost John.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I was trying to use my other camera, but I don't think it's connected.
Okay. Oh, okay. So the wall angel, you cue it like this, right? Where it's this thing.
Start out 90.
Uh-huh.
And then bend at the elbows.
Uh-huh.
And then slide up.
Okay. So the way that I cue it, either one is fine. The way that I cue it is to start like this with cactus arms. And first, try and get the wrist as close to the wall as possible. Now, the first and most basic variation is if your wrists are away from the wall, you try to get those wrists back. Mm-hmm. Now, wherever they are, you look at them, and however far away from the wrists are from the wall, take the elbows that far as well. Whatever distance your forearm is away from the wall, you try and keep that distance throughout the entire movement. Now, for me, the way that I cue these is this. So let's say that I'm like this, and I'm like this. The wall's back here behind me. The wall's here. So what I do is I try and take my wrist back. If they don't touch, that's fine. The wrist, not the knuckle, the wrist. You'll trick yourself into thinking that doing this is accomplishing something. It isn't. It's about this, not that. So I try and take the wrist as far back as I can. And if I can't do it, I go to where I can. And then I take the elbows that far forward. Now, if we're still imagining the wall here, then I'm going to take my arms up. And then I'm going to take them out.
Okay.
And then back up. And then down. Trying to keep a parallel forearm to the wall at all times. If your wrist can touch the wall, great. You slide the forearm along the wall.
You get that nice added sensory feedback, so to speak.
Right.
Now to that point, though, if you are of the first group, if you feel the wall during the movement editing times, right? Likely we're compensating. While that's the goal eventually to get there, right? It's very likely if you feel your knuckles graze the wall, or you all of a sudden you notice the back of your elbow or your elbow tip grazing the wall or something, right? Like hopefully you've noticed things kind of getting the wagon wheels get a little wobbly before then, but that should be the full on, oh shit, something.
Yeah, there's a bolt loose somewhere, right? Like I said, you have to keep those. It has to be about the process because you have to keep that awareness, especially if your wrist isn't touching, and so you take your elbow out. It requires a deceptive degree of awareness for you to keep your forearm parallel to the wall behind you at all points while you're doing this motion. It is deceptively difficult.
And to that point, a lot of times I find, some of these kind of exercises, they're not sexy. They're not fun in a lot of cases. And so you know why you're doing them, have a reason why. And if getting out of pain is important to you, like remind yourself this, because as you're doing this, if you're not properly engaged, it will feel just kind of bullshittery. It'd be kind of like, just like, why am I doing this? This is not challenging at all. When you get the right one, when you're engaged at all with anything, it becomes more difficult. But when you're challenged in something that you are weak at, your ass gets kicked infinitely faster, right? Like we've all been to that class we thought we had under our belts, and then we realize, oh, this is, they're a little bit more serious about their class here than I was expecting.
And that really is key, not to focus on longevity in the whole thing, but to feel the engagement, right? To feel where the engagement's difficult, because that brings about the necessary fatigue, the fatigue that you're searching for. You want to arrive soon. Mm-hmm. It's a good indicator that you've narrowed it down. So in this particular movement, you want to feel the engagement between the shoulder blades. Right. Like, is one moving differently? Is one elbow moving quicker or more fluidly than the other? Is one knuckle more continually hitting the wall than the other? Is your chest open on both sides? If you closed your eyes and then did a few of those reps, like we talked about, when you opened your eyes, would one arm be way further forward? Is your head jutting forward while you're doing the movement?
You're reminding me when I'm working with clients and I'll be asking them, it's like a damn game of 20 questions with them.
Yes.
But the reason being is, one, I can't feel what they feel. So I have to do that to be able to best serve them. Now, the other side of it, though, is helping them. And I finally had one client actually say this to me, that he's just not aware of his body. He is very
Mhm.
just not within his body ever. And then you can talk about all kinds of other things about that, however and why ever. But slowing things down, slowing your mind down and your body down to where you can feel the movements and feel where it's challenging. It change your world, damn it. Like,
It really does. Like,
but when you can sit through an exercise and you can sense and start feeling, well, I feel more tightness on this side, but you notice that you're really long on that side, right? Or maybe you can start feeling contractions in areas that, like, oh, I never realized I had muscles there, kind of a thing, right? Though that's those epiphanies you want to go for. Or, the potential negative is, right, we start feeling something just real crampy and acute all of a sudden in one spot. Or again, maybe we feel something real ice pickish or a single line coming out from somewhere, right? And so those are all going to be red flags that now we need to, take a break from the exercise, modify the exercise, or reassess our initial hypothesis.
yeah. So if you find that at any point you experience any one of those things, like that sharp nagging pain or that inconsistency, away from smooth, symmetrical movement, then stop
Mm-hmm.
and repattern yourself into that segment or to that movement. You may find that when you're in this particular exercise for the shoulder, to create less pain in your elbow, that you may find that taking your wrists as far back and your elbows as far forward so that your forearm is parallel, that is the corrective for now, right? That, oh man, it's so tiring. So I'm going to take this back. I'm going to take this forward so that my shoulder blades drop. Oh God, that's so tiring. I feel a lot of tightness in my chest, a lot of tightness everywhere, but in my shoulder and elbow. That's great. Stay there. And that is the workout. That is the restorative exercise. You pay attention to the nuance now for better performance later and longer.
Very common. I'll say the test is the exercise.
The test is the exercise. That's right.
So,
Now, let's say that you have that. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Let's say that you have that concavity that we were talking about earlier. First, you need to address that, right? If it's severe. So if you have an extreme case of this, and when I say extreme, the way that I like to judge it is how far forward that little bony protrusion on the top of your shoulder, how far forward that goes past your ear. So when you're standing at neutral posture, that bone should sit kind of somewhere proximal to the midline or behind, or maybe a little forward of, depending on your personal anatomy, with your ear. And you can tell that when you look in a mirror, or you do a side shot in a mirror with your phone, whatever. But if you find that this bony protrusion is forward of your ear, and that when that happens, your chest will have a tendency to want to collapse. If you have that present, do this one before you do the one that we just talked about.
I find yours is a much more accurate way of looking at it. In my
What's
mind's
that?
eye, I see ski slopes. But so
Well, I guess that matters.
When we
Go
have
ahead.
like a caved chest, or even a forward tilted shoulder to some degree, like I see that shoulder, that topography, like as a little ski slope.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we have our shoulder sitting back, now it's just a flat plane, or just a nice, easy, smooth downhill. But any cave to that chest, now we have a little half pipe.
Yeah, for all the skateboarders, right? Okay, so if you have that present, right, then we're going to need to establish some thoracic mobility or rib cage mobility first. And the way that you do that one is that you face the wall and you step an upper arm distance away from the wall. Then you take your elbow up, or you slide your hand up. Your hand is flat on the wall. You slide your hand up until your elbow is about either at mouth or eye level, no higher. You don't really want to go higher, because if you do,
on the wall at this point, or does the elbow come away?
once you slide your hand up, your elbow will come away from the wall, and it'll be by 1 to 3 inches or whatever. So once you have that, and now if you find it's too difficult to do with both arms, just do it with one. If you're going to do it with one, it is essential that you maintain a square placement of the shoulders with the wall in front of you. You don't want to do this or like this, right? So maintain shoulders square with the wall in front of you, elbow on the wall, and then with the hand flat, you slide the hand up until the elbow is in between mouth and eye level.
Now, would
you
have that, would you cue like hand walking or fingertip walking, or do you just want to?
It all depends on your level of mobility with the shoulder. If you're finding pain with the shoulder, that's another issue, right? Then you're kind of dealing with rotator cuff stuff, and then you'd want to do the spider hand.
Okay.
Spider hand.
Does everything a spider hand can.
That's right. All right. So you slide the hand up the wall, squeeze your elbow in, and if you're doing it with both hands, great. If not, you're going to feel it mainly on one side, the hand's on the wall, then you won't, more on that side than you will on the other. But if one hand's on the wall, if both hands are on the wall, that's fine. If both hands, make sure that your elbows are equidistant. You don't want one any higher up than the other right now. If you're going to do it single-handedly, then make sure that you're going to notice that one elbow doesn't reach quite as high as the other one does.
Mm-hmm.
The one that reaches higher doesn't need to reach any higher than the one that can't reach as high. So they both go as high as the lowest one. Either way, take an arm up, squeeze your elbow in, and then all I'm going to do is with my hand flat on the wall, push into the wall, and then pull.
Mm-hmm.
I push into the wall and then pull down with my hand. Your hand shouldn't slide. That's why you push into the wall. What instead should happen is that your chest should lift. Your shoulder blades are going to go, but your shoulder blades are going to retract toward, meaning they're going to move more toward the spine, and then your rib cage is going to lift. Now,
I'll commonly cue people in that it should feel like the tackiness of their hands are like peeling the wallpaper off, so to speak.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Like speaking of spider hands, right? But it'd be like if you're trying to climb the wall, if you had that superpower, like the sweaty, tacky, clammy hands of mine, right? When I get them on that wall, I want to be able to feel like I'm creating traction against the wall. And to your point, right? Pushing helps to generate that, but it's really about trying to create that intrinsic pull down along the face of the wall as much as you can is how I envision it.
Yeah, your hand shouldn't slide. Instead, because your hand can't go anywhere, your chest should lift. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of things might manifest. You might find that once you do that, your hips start pressing toward the wall. You want to avoid that. You were standing upper arm distance from the wall. Keep your core tight. Keep your abs engaged. And when you pull, you'll find that your lift of your chest isn't that profound if your abs are engaged, if your core is engaged.
I'd even cue weight in the heels.
What's that?
I'd even cue weight in the heels.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like, while you're setting up, if you're doing this variation, I call this a wall dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
wall dog. That's a good one.
Or a down dog. It's a wall dog.
That's a good one.
And so it's that
you can do this on.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you can do this one on a wall. If you don't have wall space, you can do it on a door. Just make sure you are on the opposing side of the way that the door swings. Right. It's not enough for the door to be closed. Don't do it against the door the way that it swings.
You can go
do it on the other side.
But like our professional advice is
do
it the special.
I guess that's true, right? Do it however you want. Do whatever is the most rewarding. But the recommendation is to do it against the opening of the door. Now, remember, you don't want the hips to fall inward. The other thing is that you don't want to make standing elbow distance. Before you get into that, make sure that your chest is as present as possible. In other words, try and pull your shoulder blades back toward each other and make that the upper arm distance that you stand. Because if you start like this, when you go to pull up, what you're going to do is pull this concavity is pull the concavity upward rather than lifting in the chest and pulling that upward. So make sure you start with the placement, retracting the shoulder blades, and then walk your hand up and then do the lift. One arm, both arms, independent
I would
or
piggyback
whatever.
on this too, the sense of less is more, right? So I get like, maybe you're still working out and maybe you can still move some heavy weights from time to time, but there's just every now and then this thing catches you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay taking time to do these body weight movements, reassessing the way the joints are interacting and moving with each other. It's even better
Mm-hmm.
to, when you do go back to working out, to lower the weights and practice these mechanic movements. Because
Mm-hmm.
one, when you do practice the mechanic movements like this, you won't be able to lift as much weight. It's just like, I don't have a science paper to prove it to you or show it to you, but just trust that you have not trained these muscles in these manners. So when you go to what your normal working weights were, your body's not really prepared for it in the same way. Does it mean you're weak? No. It means that you're rebuilding yourself to get back to that strength level you were. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're doing things like just holding your shoulders back and thinking like, oh, this is kind of silly, give it the honest effort, because you will find that it'll start seeping in. It may take maybe 30 seconds, right? But if you give it the true effort of about 30 seconds or so, you'll start noticing these things start cooking. You'll start noticing these things start working. And like when it's the right one, baby, you know it.
Now, like I said earlier, if you're having trouble with the self-assessment of it, or if you don't have anyone around you, or you can't afford someone around you to like give you a professional observation over it, reach out to us. Subscribe, like all the stuff. Come to us. We'll be glad to help you. We can even have you on. We'll blur out your face, whatever you want.
Don't promise that.
What's that?
I don't know how to do that yet.
We'll figure it out, right? Give us a shout, and then we'll be glad to help you. You can send us a message on any one of our platforms, and we'll be glad to give you the assistance, even if it's just hey, my shoulder's in this odd position. What do I do? Right? Mm-hmm. Remember that we are trying to target what is downstairs or upstairs of the elbow that is causing this elbow pain.
It's always above or below the pain spot.
Always above or below
the pain spot.
So we have a couple of more exercises to go into. Let's get through one more, because this one's actually relatively easy, and then we can continue the next two on our next one.
Let's get it.
Scapular push-ups. Now, oftentimes people go into just basically plank, right? What is love? All right. Oftentimes people do these going into plank. Mm-hmm. They go into a full plank, push-up ready, knees off the floor, feet, shoulders, arms, and then they go into this scapular push-up, which is fine, but chances are, if you can manage that one, this isn't the one that you need to do.
Right.
So the way that we're going to start it is to go on to all fours.
Get on your hands and knees.
Yeah, hands and knees. Now, the way that you increase challenge on this one is if you start on hands and knees, presumably your hands are going to be under the shoulders, knees will be under the hips.
I like the cue of stacking the joints, right?
Oh, so yeah, that's what
you can think about stacking the joints, wrist, elbow, shoulder, all on top of each other, hips over knees.
Yes. That's a fantastic way to cue that. Just remember, stack the joints. Now, if you want more challenge, all you do is keep the shoulders solid over the wrists, and then walk knees back an inch at a time. Mm-hmm. Right? The inch at a time puts significantly greater degrees of load-bearing responsibility into the abs and into the shoulders. So really, an inch at a time, just to see where your tolerance level is. Now, the further back you take the knees, it's important to begin with, but the further back you take the knees, the more you want to be conscious of a flat back. You don't want the belly to drop toward the floor, and you don't want the chest to arch or the back to arch toward the ceiling. So
we don't want to see that little pop belly, no little pop belly hanging out, and again, no arching the back and those kind of artificial positions. You want to be a good coffee table. I used to coach in the classes. Be a good coffee table and don't slosh the adult beverages.
That's right. In yoga, you call that kind of positioning of the rib cage where the belly is dropping or the back is arching, cat or cow. You don't want to do either one of those. You want to be neutral, right? So try and tuck your tailbone with the abs. And we're going to presume for the purposes of this one that you're not going at any more advanced variations with your knees further back. So we're going to presume with these instructions like the knees are under the hips and wrists are under the shoulders. Actively think about your shoulder blades, right? Now, the other cue is that you want to make sure that your wrists are positioned optimally by taking the index fingers and rotating them outside of parallel. Okay? Right.
Be a winner.
You want, right? Be a winner.
Not a loser.
That's right. There you go. The way that I think about it is you want 2 check marks, right? Not even 2 L's. You just want 2 check marks, right? So hands are shoulder width apart because the wrists are under the shoulders. Rotate your fingers outside of parallel.
Now, for people using a yoga mat, sorry to keep interrupting you, but if you're using a yoga mat, now if you're a male of average size, you will likely, in using a standard yoga mat, you'll probably get your fingertips to the edge of the mat.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think a lot of times people get a little too narrow trying to keep their hands on the mat. Women, females, you're probably going to be a little narrower for obvious reasons, right? Being a smaller framed individual, but use those landmarks for yourself too. So that way you can help yourself be repetitive in your setups and have that consistency kind of baked in for you. And if you're a really wide framed individual, like if you're just very broad across the chest, you may actually have to go off the mat, or even I've had some clients that have to put their hands kind of under the mat because they're kind of in this in-between size, if you will. So their hand kind of sits on the edges of the mat. So it's just more comfortable for them to put their hands under the mat. So, give yourself that grace, if you will, to kind of step outside of the lines a little, or color a little outside the lines.
If it comes to that, turn sideways so it's only your hands on the mat.
But then right? On the mat. No, that's another problem.
Just depending on where you do it, you might find a solution. Roll up another mat and stick that under your knees. Anyway, for this one, though, the only thing you're going to focus on is the retraction and protraction of your shoulder blades. That means retraction, taking the shoulder blades closer to the spine, protraction, moving them away from the spine to around the rib cage toward the front of the body. Now, that does not equal rounding the back or dropping the belly. It is simply relocating your shoulder blade.
What are some sensory things that you either cue or use for yourself when you've done these?
So for those, I want to make sure that I'm avoiding tension in my neck, right? If I feel tension in my neck, I'm not engaging my serratus. Cheap viewers on Steam.
We don't want any cheap viewers. We don't want budget conscious viewers.
That's right. That's right.
No, okay. Was it barachos?
What?
What's cheap in Spanish? The baracho.
I don't remember.
I never know how to say
but I'm sure that one of our legions of followers can tell us. All right. So you want to cue for yourself. Remember that you want to avoid tension in the neck, right?
Oh, what up, Bowser Big Bean Burrito? He
always speaks
in emojis. Or she, they.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, hello, Bowser Big Bean Burrito. Glad to have you here. Okay. So avoid tension in the neck. Avoid any tension in the low back. If you do either one of those things, either the belly is typically dropping or the shoulders are up next to the ears while you're in the movement. So squeeze the shoulders down sides of the ribs, fingers are outside of parallel, and then do your protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades. Now notice when I'm doing this one, as I'm sitting up here, my posture isn't changing. Only the position of my shoulder is changing. In other words, I'm not doing this and rounding my back. I'm not doing this and arching my back. I'm establishing core tension and reaching forward, reaching back.
Yeah, a big thing I focus on for myself and with clients on that, especially like leaving the knees on the ground, is when you do get to one of those extremes, focus on take a moment and check your stomach. See, did you let go? Even if you think I did it, John, just check yourself. Like, because especially if
no harm in it.
if this is a new movement for you, or you are trying this again for the first time in a while, very likely we're rusty. And I always go back to the sense of like you're rubbing your belly and patting your head, right? Or even riding a bicycle is probably more sensible for people. Like you can hop on and you can still get it, but it's going to take you a little while. So take your time and double check yourself, because you might find is that things get a lot more intense.
Yeah. So look, both of these exercises that we talked about, it's 2 out of the 4 that we're going to address. We can address the other 2 next week. Both of those are fantastic ways to start. Remember that it is about the process. It is not about the completion. The completion is where the process takes you, and that should be the goal, not a numerical value and not an achievement metric of I need to lift my arm this high. There's a big difference between I need to lift my arm this high and I need to lift my arm as high as I can while doing this.
Right.
Big difference between the two. Keep those things in mind. And like we said 100 times, if you have any questions or need to figure out how one of those 2 exercises or both can benefit you, or any adaptations that you need to have that go along with them, you might have other specific needs that we haven't covered. Feel free to like and subscribe to any one of our things, or drop us a line on any one of our channels. You can go to our website, rangefitnessonline.com, and find us there. We're here for the next few weeks, probably on Twitch. 6:30 p.m. Tuesdays, Central U.S. Central Time, till whenever. And then John's on Thursday morning.
We got grinding Gainz, caffeinated critiques.
That's right.
About 5:30 in the morning, going over various lifts. Bowser, I think he's one of my regulars there. But
that's very nice of you, Bowser.
Form reviews, and if you're interested in a form review for yourself, looking to get, even if it's pain, pop over to our subreddit. Put your upload there, and then Thursday mornings I'll hit it up and look at your video and give a video response to it, if you will. And not only just tell you what I see wrong, but also help give you some solutions and some ideas to move forward with that.
All right. So in the meantime,
stay mindful as fuck, y'all.
And don't compensate. Sir John?
Adios, Sir Paul. Be well. Have a great night. Big bean.
Thanks, you too.
Big bean burrito. Bowser. I'll get it. I never get it right.
Bowser Big Bean Burrito. It's great to meet you, and thanks so much for joining. Have fun, everybody.
Toodles. Have a great night.